Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Stephen Cheevers Mindtrip. I massively appreciate everybody that tunes in for these. So on today's episode, I'm going to run you through my sales methodology. It's a sales system I've created called the Trojan Horse Sales System. And the reason I actually spent a lot of time creating this system is because I kind of just feel like traditional sales techniques suck. There's a lot of, old ways of doing things. We've talked about it on previous episodes. There's the old boiler room type of selling where you're just really strong arming people into stuff. You're manipulating people. And that obviously works, but it doesn't lead to a great customer service. It doesn't really lead to getting clients for life. They're probably going to resent you for forcing them into making that decision. They're probably not going to come back to you ever again. And there's also leaves open the door for buyer's remorse. So if you've sold something that there is a return policy on, or a way to opt out of it, they maybe just say yes to you to get you off the phone or to escape you. And then they phone up and cancel the next day. Okay. Or they put in a complaint against you or something like that. Right. So, boiler rooms kind of had its day. It was obviously big in the 90s and prior to that. And, when there was, stuff was getting sold, maybe over the phone, like stocks and shares and things like that you can't just return. Even like, selling cars, like, you sell a car today, somebody can phone up tomorrow and speak to the customer service team, be like, cancel that order, So boiler rooms kind of had its day. Whilst it is effective and it does work, it just doesn't lead to like great customer service and having customers for life. If you get NPS surveys after one of those, and you've boiler roomed somebody, that's not coming back as a great survey. And then the other type of selling, that's become more popular over the years is obviously consultative selling, which I think completely blows. I think it sucks. I think consultative selling was created by somebody who sucked at selling, and it was like their excuse for like why they don't sell a whole lot. Oh, I'm just prioritizing the customer's needs, and I'm just consultating them and they'll come to their own decision and blah 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 blah. I think consultative selling is just nonsense. There is some good consultative sellers, don't get me wrong. There's people who are incredible salespeople who've tweaked consultative selling to still put in little elements of sales techniques where, like the client feels that the prospect feels like they have made the decision by themselves, but you kind of have manipulated that a little bit. But just, flat out consultative selling without anything like that added in, I think completely blows. And, you see it across like sales teams everywhere. You even go to buy a car now, unless you're going like a used car lot, you go to buy a car. Like the sales guys now, they're on like reasonably high basic salaries and they don't earn a lot of commission per car sold. And I'm sure that comes from the top down. I'm sure that comes from like the car manufacturer who's saying, we don't want people coming into our showrooms and, leaving with a bad taste in their mouth. Look after them, give them great customer service. If they test drive the car, they'll love it. They'll come to that decision by themselves. I'm sure that's where that's coming from. But that kind of kills that industry for me. Like, car salesmen were always traditionally, in my opinion, like some of the best salesmen out there. Certainly in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, you could have made a lot of money selling cars. When I sold cars, I made okay money. I didn't make anything absolutely insane, but I remember when I first started selling cars, like my basic salary was 10 grand a year and I was commission on top of that. We worked 60 hours a week. So it was like way below minimum wage. Like it was criminal how little we were getting paid on like a per hourly basis. If you had a bad month, that was obviously the commission obviously topped it up. If you were a great sales guy, you didn't worry about your basic, but we worked 2 late nights. We worked Monday to Saturday. That's just how it was. And if you took your Saturday off, it was kind of frowned upon. So, things have changed a little bit now. People are more and more coming away from like these more, strong arm techniques where you can it kind of is destroying, sales. Really. It's destroying like the industry. And it's just, I firmly believe that sales is an art. It's an art form. And I feel like stuff like that is just killing it, it is what it is. I just think consultative selling was created by somebody that wasn't a great salesperson, and it was just a good way to to get people to get their sales manager off their back. So that's my opinion on those. That's why I came up with the Trojan Horse Method. And why I think the method that I use is superior is it's kind of like an amalgamation of several different sales methodologies put into one. I know I learned a lot from Jordan Belfort. I always try to give Belfort a shout out where I can. I remember when I was 21, I'd been in sales since I was 18. Really coming into my own as a salesperson, went to his sales seminar, learned the straight line system from him, bought his courses, all that type of stuff. And the straight line system was a great system. And if you ever, he sells like his old like sales manuscripts from like his Stratton Oakmont days, and it basically is that system, but like much more aggressive, like in how they kind of like did the whole boiler room thing on people, and that served me well for a long time. How I think my system differs from that though is it definitely takes some elements from that. We do dabble a little bit of the consultative stuff in there just to be nice, and we take some of the things that work in boiler room without destroying the customer service aspect of it. Because if you are a salesperson, you know, one thing that it depends on who you're working for, whether you're working for yourself or whether you're working for a coaching company or whether you're a car salesman or, you know, whatever it is you do. If you're listening to this and you work in any kind of sales capacity, right? If you work for somebody else, the chances are they're probably going to do NPS surveys on you, which is going to affect your commission and things like that. So you don't want to be this complete dickhead that, yes, you get the sale every time, but like you get destroyed on NPS surveys and nobody ever wants to deal with you again, right? What you want to do is you want to sell in a way that, like, you know, you are selling to them. Like there's sales being done here. There's like techniques. You are bringing them into your way of thinking without completely strong arming them into the decision, right? Okay. And one of the big parts of my method that I've always used like quite effectively is humor, right? And that's just something that comes naturally for me. I'm good at sort of cracking jokes with people, especially if I'm meeting them for the first time. I'm good at building rapport without dragging rapport out like needlessly and endlessly. And just, I feel like whenever you do create humor and warmth in that sales interaction from the start, it actually enables you to be able to strong arm them a wee bit further down the line, right? If you think about whenever you are, say you're maybe having like a discussion with a family member, they've got to make a decision on something, right? You would probably speak to that family member in like a much firmer tone, or like a close friend, firmer tone than you would a complete stranger on the street, right? If they were asking your opinion and they're kind of like hemming and hawing, and you're like, yo, just do this. This is the best option for you, right? It's hard to do that with somebody you have absolutely no relationship with, okay? But if you're doing it with somebody who you have a good relationship with, one, they respect your opinion, and two, they're more likely when they have a connection with you to actually do what it is that you're telling them because they feel like you're doing it in their best interest, right? So I feel like humor, especially at the start, has a big part to play in the rapport building, right? Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm a really boring person, I'm not very funny, I'm not saying you need to be a clown. I'm not saying you need to embarrass yourself or like pour coffee over yourself and make like, I'm not saying you're not a buffoon, right? You're not here to be a buffoon, but like injecting some kind of humor into the process where people can, you know, get a laugh from you. They can enjoy your company. They're enjoying spending time with you. Okay. One of the things people that I worked with used to just completely take the piss out of me for was I apparently have like a fake laugh that I do with customers, right? And when I used to work in a car showroom, the car showroom I worked in, it was huge and it was like designed like a racetrack, so it was very echoey. It was very open plan, and the admin girls used to always say, "Oh, you can tell when Cheevers is about to make a sale because like you can hear this big like fake belly laugh bellow throughout the entire showroom, right?" And that, I guess that was true. And I wasn't doing like a fake laugh to be fake, But I suppose it was just like turning myself and my own personality up to 11. So, you know, whenever we would be joking around and they would say something funny, like the best way I can describe it is, do you ever watch like a comedy movie and like, you know, you're, you know, like let's say a Will Ferrell movie like Step Brothers or something like that, and you've maybe watched it for like the 20th time and you're like, haha, that's funny, but like you don't like, ha ha ha. Do you know what I mean? Like you still find it funny, but like you aren't like belly laughing, right? And I think that was just like the natural salesman in me. Whenever they would say something funny, I'm like doing this like big belly laugh, like really like over the top, like, oh my God, that's hilarious, right? Because again, like for me anyway, like my laugh was always pretty infectious. So like if I'm laughing like that, then they start laughing like that. Everybody's having a good time. And that's key to it as well, right? You want to make your sales process something that either they're having a great time doing it, right? Like they feel great about buying this car from you. They feel great about doing this. Like they've actually enjoyed sitting there with you for like the last 1 to 2 hours, how long your sales process is, right? Like they've enjoyed it. Okay, so that's really, really, really key, is that they're enjoying it, right? And laughter and humor and connection through that kind of process, that just makes it so much easier for them to enjoy it, right? Because like them laughing is like a sign that they're enjoying it, okay? So that's like a key part to me, right? Trying to build that genuine connection, just making interactions more enjoyable, you know, digging into like things throughout the process that, you know, again, you can build unconscious rapport over. So again, going back to maybe like car sales, it's a wee bit easier. You know, you're maybe talking about like, what is it you're using the car for? You know, who else is having this car for? Like, do you have children that do you need a big boot? Do you play golf? Do you do this? Do you do like all of these kind of like real life examples for them that make it a bit more real? And then, you know, you can make jokes about it and stuff like that. Like if you've got a guy in, he's by himself and he's like, oh yeah, I need to buy like a big estate car because, you know, I played golf with the boys at the weekend and I've got 3 kids now. And, you know, and you can kind of see him being like, oh, I've got fucking 3 kids and like the wife and stuff like that. You know, like an easy joke there to make is like, oh, days of buying the sports car over, right? You know, so, and he's like, oh, fucking right. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that, right? Again, you don't need to be a stand-up comic, but little things like that just make life a wee bit more fun for them. You know, you always make it, you know, you'd always say, all right, okay, you need all this. So, all right, we're probably not looking at the R8 today, are we? You know, things like that. So that type of stuff there, I find really, really, really helps build connections. So try and think about in your sales process, like how can you inject more of those types of conversations and things in there, especially the earlier the better. You can find that like more rapport, more fun, things like that, right? Now, whenever you take that type of methodology and you kind of put it with the other things out there, the likes of Belfort's sort of straight line system, right? That kind of ties into it big for me, because whenever you are like, one of the things he taught was, you know, you're trying to keep people on a straight line. Okay. So A to B, that's your straight line. That's your sales. Okay. Whenever you're talking about something that's not to do with the sale and it's not progressing the sale, that's the client taking you off of the straight line, right? And they're taking you up out here in the outer space. Okay. Right. That stuff whenever you talk about golf, right? So for example, you know, he says, I need this car because I play golf, right? You can make some jokes about golf, right? That's maybe taking it to here and then you're back into your sales again, right? If you were to say, okay, you play golf. Oh, all right, cool. I play golf too. Like, what's your handicap? Oh yeah, my handicap's 6. Oh, mine's 24, bro. You're like, you know, you destroy me in a game, blah, 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 blah. Where do you play? Oh yeah, I play here. You know, have you ever played up at, right? That is just, you're not helping yourself there. Like you're taking yourself like way out of the line. Okay. So again, with what I do, it follows a similar method to that, in that, you know, we've got that humor injected. We've got that relationship built. We've got that connection made, right? Now, whenever stuff like that happens where they are, maybe because they will initiate those conversations too. It's not always necessarily like a bad sales guy that's initiating those conversations where he's talking about golf and whatever else, right? They're going to want to talk. Like if you say, oh, cool, I play golf too, right? And you're trying to build some more unconscious rapport with them, right? They're going to ask those questions being like, oh, you know, where do you play and stuff like that, right? So it's completely up to you to put them back onto the line, right? By doing this, it's going to make your life easier whenever you are trying to get the sale later, okay? Because you've built that little bit of rapport, but you've got to make sure like you're serious about what you do here, right? Okay, are they serious that they want to buy? You're serious that you want to sell, okay? So that's a lot of what we do there, just methodology wise. So how I kind of like to structure my sales format is we come in with rapport, right? So we always start with a little bit of rapport, but it's quick, okay? We try to get those few laughs at the start. We try to make sure that people are comfortable with us. They're here to enjoy the experience, okay? You want to make sure that they are either, if they're not going to enjoy it, make sure they go away with some kind of incredible value that they feel like, God, I would have paid for this interaction, okay? Then we're getting into like agenda stuff, okay? It's super important to set your agenda, okay? You've got to set the agenda for the day so that they understand what the process is. One of the things I remember when I was selling cars was, and like I didn't even think about this back then, about like this being like an agenda set, because like who needs to set an agenda for selling a car? But I used to always ask people, okay, look, the process today is probably with test drive and, you know, getting you figures and pricing up your car and stuff. That's probably going to take around 2 hours. Have you got 2 hours today? Okay, so if somebody booked in a, appointment with you, you maybe didn't need to do this, but if they were walking off the street, like you needed to do this because, you know, some people think they can come and buy a car in 30 minutes, okay? And those people don't buy cars because they're in, they have a look, they have no time for a test drive, they just want figures, there's no value built, they don't enjoy it, they leave, right? Okay. So you always want to make sure that they've got time to actually go through the process with you. And if they don't, then book them in for another appointment. Okay. So that's really, really, really important there is we're setting the agenda up front. We're also telling them like, this is what's going to happen in the agenda and why we're doing it. Okay. So at every stage we're going, this is what we're going to do. And this is why. This is what we're going to do. And this is why. This is what we're going to do. And this is why, right? Because you're explaining to them like why I actually need your attention for all of these things. But as part of the why, you also want to build in a benefit to them. So you want to say, look, we're doing it. We're going to do this. And this is why we're doing it for your benefit. So then they go, okay, I really need to lock in here, right? One thing that I find very, very key after this is asking their permission to lead the interaction. Okay. You can give them the option, you know, this is you basically opening the door and being like, look, do you want to take totally control of what we're in today? Or would you like me, the expert, to take control, right? They're always going to allow you to take control. Okay. I've never had somebody say, yeah, no, actually, I'd like to lead this, right? That's never happened to me. If that happens, I'll come back and fucking change this podcast episode, but that's never happened to me. They're always going to let you take the lead. But by asking permission, again, they've given you permission there and then to basically be in total control of the day. Okay. So again, this is all just psychological stuff, right? Now, before you go any further, you want to get into the qualifying section. Okay. So it's a final pre-qualifier. You just want to make sure 100%, you can do this interchangeable. You could do pre-qualifier, then agenda, either or. But you want to really just pre-qualify them, right? You want to make sure that they can afford it, okay? That there's nobody else that needs to be involved in the decision-making process, okay? And that they're here to buy, okay? Those are really the key things that you need to pre-qualify up front with people, okay? What you don't want to do is you don't want to go through this whole process where they get to the end, they're like, I've got to go ask my wife, okay? Or, do you know what? I actually can't afford this. I was looking at the wrong car. I was looking at, you know what? I wish you'd have told me this was 50 grand. I could only afford 30, right? You want to make sure that you completely pre-qualify this person before you waste their time and your time, okay? Because if you waste your own time sucks. Wasting their time is not cool either, right? You want to make sure that they can afford this. They can make a decision on it and they're in a position to buy as well, because if you're talking to someone and they're like, well, to be honest, I'm probably not going to make this decision for 6 months, then like, why are you talking to them about it now? You know, if you're selling coaching, you know, your price probably changes every quarter, every 6 months, every year, at least. Okay. Nobody's coaching price stays the same permanently. So it's like, well, there's no point in me talking to you today because, you know, I don't know what my program's going to look like in 6 months. I don't know what it's going to cost. I don't know this. I don't know that. There's too many variables. Like, it's just a waste of mine and your time, but I'd love to book you back in for a time that you're in a position to make a decision, right? same with like cars and stuff like that. Like if somebody's coming down to buy a car and you're like, right, okay, cool. Well, look, if you can't make a decision today and you're actually thinking of buying a car in 6 months, like, dude, there's no point in us looking at this, because one, if we're looking at a used car, that used car is not going to be there in 6 months. There's no point in looking at that. And two, if we're looking at a new car, the models change twice a year. Okay, there's a model year change in May and there's a model year change in October, whatever it is, right? Like the car you're looking at right now might not even be available. Okay, and it'll definitely cost more. So, and your car is going to depreciate in value between then and now. So again, too many variables. Let's book you back in for another time to come back, right? Now, there's probably a lot of sales coaches out there and stuff like that. It'd be like, if you're a great enough salesperson, you can overcome that objection, and you can, if somebody's not in a position to make a decision for like 6 months or whatever, right? Like maybe like 1 out of those 20 people, yes, you convert. Okay. But realistically, it's likely a waste of your time. If you are like super, super desperate for, sales, and you've got nothing else to do the rest of the day, and you've got no leads and no prospects, then like, go nuts. Like take those leads because you're desperate. But if you're like already busy, you're already making great money, and you're already like not looking for clients, then that's the type of stuff I book for way down the line. Now, if they're saying 6 months, you want to check in with them, after 3. Okay. You're not just like booking them away for 6 months and being like, I hope they show up, right? You want to still keep on tabs with them, just making sure you haven't changed your mind about the 6 month window yet, blah, 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 blah. Or if something new comes in or something's about to change or you've got an offer, look, I'm just calling you up to, let you know there's an offer on, blah, 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 blah. One thing I did wrong there was say just, never say just. Okay. I'm calling up to let you know. Okay. Never say I'm just calling up. Right. So those are little intricacies. Okay. That again, this all plays a huge part in the actual method itself and the methodology. Okay. So we're making sure they're pre-qualified to death. We're making sure they are set on the agenda and they understand that locking in for this process and listening to you is locking them in. And prior to that and throughout that, again, you've built a nice connection with them. You've got them laughing. They're like, the start of the interaction is the best time for a joke. Okay. Like even if you're doing a Monday call or something like that, and you're at, oh, well, how was your weekend? Yeah. Like tell them something funny that happened to you over the weekend. Like don't be like, oh yeah, mine was great too. Just be like, oh yeah, it was great, but like I took the dog out and he ran through a puddle and soaked me, and I spent like all Saturday like trying to get mud out of my jeans or something like that. Dogs, eh? Right? Just keep things lighthearted. Okay. So after that, you want to take them into talking about their goals, talking about them, like why have they actually came to you today? Like what's made them make the decision to come and speak to you today and look at solving their problem or buying their car or like whatever it is. What's made them actually come to you today? Like what was like the trigger point for them, right? Everybody's got a trigger point, okay? Whether they're just looking or whatever, right? Nobody's ever just looking. I've never went to just look at cars, right? Like if I go to buy a car, it's because or go to look at a car, it's because I'm fucking sick of the car I'm driving, or that new model's out. I quite like that, right? That's a trigger point for me. The trigger point in that scenario has been, I'm sick of the car I'm driving. Okay. Or I have seen the new model and it looks cool, right? Whilst I might just be looking that day, okay, there has been a trigger point for me. So you want to get them thinking of like, what was the trigger point for them? Get it fresh in their mind so they go, yeah, well, do you know what? The trigger point for me was I fucking curbed the alloy this week, and it's costing this to fix and this, that, and I just don't want to put any more money into that car. Like I'm just sick of that car, right? Those are all trigger points. Those are emotional trigger points for people. And if you can extract that from them, that's going to do wonders for you in closing further down the line, right? And then you want to go from there and say stuff like, okay, cool. Well, like, now in that scenario there, because it's like, I just curbed my alloy, right? It's a recent thing that maybe doesn't make sense for this next bit. You'll have to tweak this a little, but somebody says something like, let's say they're buying a fitness program or something. They're like, oh, I'm just sort of, sick of how I look, or I've just come back from holiday and I don't like what I saw on the beach and, whatever, blah, 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 right? That's their trigger point. So then you want to go into like, well, why now and not 6 months ago? Okay. So now you're locking them in for like, why do you want to buy from me today? Okay. And the reason that you're doing that is again, you're enforcing into their brain Okay, it's like inception here, right? We're putting into their brain, you want to do this today. Okay, so you're actually getting them to tell you why they want to do it today. So they say, oh, well, 6 months ago, I was busy. There was just other things going on. I just couldn't make it work, blah, 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 blah. So then you can hit them with something like, okay, cool. Well, it's great to speak to you today then. We can get this sorted for you. As they say, when's the best time to plant a tree? If it wasn't 6 months ago, it's today, right? Okay. So now they're going, yeah, today. I didn't plant the tree 6 months ago, but like if I want the tree to grow, I got to do it today, right? So again, you're reinforcing like why they should do this today with you, okay? So now what we want to do is move on to speaking about their goals, okay? So we now know what their trigger point was for actually wanting to do this. Now let's see like why they want to do, like what's the end result that they're looking for from this, okay? So the end result is likely going to be something, along the lines of, if it's a new car, it's like, I want a car with heated seats this time. Okay. Or again, like, let's talk about fitness. Okay. I want to get a 6-pack. I want to do this. I want to do that. Bang, 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 bang. Get them to give you at least 3 goals, right? Okay. If it's fitness, I would go 3. If you're, selling cars or whatever else, like there can be like an unlimited amount of things they want. Like, what do you want your next car to have? Okay. Well, I want my next car to be, to have heated seats. I want it to have adjustable suspension, and I want it to take petrol, and I want it to do this, and I want it to do that, and I want it to be red, right? Okay. One of the things just for like car sales people that I used to ask was not like, what color do you like? Okay. Because people will just say, oh, I want a red car, right? And maybe you don't have a red car to sell. I always say, what colors do you really not like? Like what color would you not drive, right? So instead of asking them what colors do they like, you're asking them like specifically like, is there anything that you would completely rule out now? So a lot of people I wouldn't drive a black car because black just gets scratchy and it doesn't look good after a while. So a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't drive a black car, or I wouldn't drive a green car, I wouldn't drive this, or I wouldn't drive that, right? That leaves you open to every other color on the spectrum, right? So you can be like, okay, cool. Well, you wanted heated seats and you wanted this and you want this. I've actually got a silver car with heated seats. You could drive home in it today. Bang, 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 bang. Do you want to come and have a look at it? We can maybe organize a test drive and in that car, the same engine. And they're like, yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, silver. I would fuck with silver, right? Okay. Whereas if you just say like, what color car do you want? They go, oh, I want red. Now the silver car, like if you go, well, I have a silver car, they're like, I don't really want silver. Okay. So with the goals section, again, you want to go through their goals, and then you want to also ask them, like why is that goal important to you? Okay, so what is it like let's say, again, if we go into my world for a second, we're talking about like business coaching or something like that, and I say, give me a goal for the next 12 months, right? And they're like, oh, well, I'd like to make 10 grand a month. Okay, cool. So what most salespeople will do is go, right, 10 grand a month. Cool. What's the other goal, right? What you want to do is be like, right, okay, 10 grand a month. Okay, that's a really cool goal. Like why do you like, how would life change if you made 10 grand a month? Who would that affect? Blah, blah, blah. And then they'll go, well, I want to make 10 grand a month because that would help me pay off my mortgage. I could put my kid in the university or the private school that he wants. My wife could quit work, right? Now you're getting into like why you're getting into the reason why behind it, right? And again, this is a great time to inject some of that humor that we talked about before, where, if they say something that's, now obviously if they say something morbid or something like that, like don't joke about it like, oh, I want to make that so I can pay for my grandmother to go in a care home or something like that. Like that's not the time for a joke, right? But let's say, they say something about like, oh, I want to make the money so I could do this and do that and stuff like that. Like, if they are talking like completely selflessly, be like, all right, cool. Well, like, what about yourself? Like, do you want to buy a Ferrari, or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? Like, again, this is just time to inject a little bit of humor. And they'll be like, most people are like, haha, no. I just care about providing for family and stuff like that. But what that's doing is that's completely reinforcing like why that goal is important. And again, why they should, use your services. Okay. Why they should buy the car or whatever. Okay. So again, if they're like, oh, like, I need a much bigger boot. Okay, cool. So why do you need a bigger boot? Oh, right. Okay. Well, blah, 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 blah. Right. We're reinforcing like, you really need this. Okay. So let me sell it to you. All right. So after the goals, what you want to do now is, before you move on to the next stage, right? There's the next stage I'm going to talk about in a second. But before you do that, you always want to go back and recap everything that you've done. And this is where we're looking for micro commitments or micro agreements, whatever you want to call them. And you're going through everything step by step, and you're just asking them like, okay, so you said this, right? Yes. You said this, right? Yes. You said this, right? Yes. Okay, so you're getting them to say yes over and over and over again. Then you want to ask them, I just want to check in with you. Is everything, you're finding everything comfortable so far? Yeah, cool. Blah, 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 right? So you're just looking for micro agreements, okay? Make sure they're comfortable with the process. Make sure there's no additional questions before you move on, okay? And again, this is just like keeping that sense of rapport and connection together. Like, look, I'm just checking in to make sure you're happy with everything so far, right? They're going to feel like you're looking out for them, okay? And that's really, really important throughout the process. And I don't want that to come across like they want you to, you want to make them feel like you're looking out for them when you actually don't care. Like, you should care. Like, okay, it is about selling, it is about making money, but ultimately whatever you're selling, you should believe in the product and stand behind the product and genuinely be looking to help people with the product as well. I feel like that, if you do genuinely believe that, that comes across in the sales process as well, okay? Especially when you're going through this process. Like, again, if somebody says something really emotional on like one of their goals or something, like just say, tell them that, like, that's nice to hear. Like, tell them that, oh, like, I really like to hear that. That's a really cool goal. Empathize with people as well. Like, if somebody has a reason for something being hard, again, you're wanting to like continue this connection building, warmth, okay? And make sure they're having a good time throughout the process as well. So after that, then what we want to do really is we want to move on to like some problems, okay? If, again, I'm going to use two examples here, cars and coaching services, right? So if we're selling cars, what is it you hate about your old car? Okay, so we want to emphasize there that they hate their old car. Okay, so what is it you hate about it? We want to elicit emotion. Okay, what is it you hate about your old car? Okay, that you don't want to be the same with the next car. Okay, like, oh, I hate that, the power steering's not great on it, or I hate those alloys. They're too small, or I hate it's only got 3 doors, or I hate this, right? Okay, cool. All right, so now we know like what you don't want in the next car, right? Okay, cool, right? When you're talking maybe in coaching services and things like that, this is maybe a time where, you want to say, okay, so like, discuss with me, like, what are your biggest obstacles right now? Like, what's holding you back from achieving these goals by yourself? Okay. You can't ask that in a car sales environment because it's like they can't build their own car, right? Okay. But in coaching, coaching is teaching people how to do stuff that they don't know, or coaching them through something that they probably do know how to do, but they maybe just don't have direction, or they need help, or they need accountability, or they need guidance, right? Okay. Especially in fitness coaching, like absolutely everybody could get a plan off the internet and use MyFitnessPal. Somebody can lose weight by themselves. They can, right? But they don't, because they need accountability. They need somebody on their back, right? So that's when you want to ask them like, so, like, what's stopping you doing this yourself? And then from there, this is where they're now going to tell you all of the problems that they have. Now, like the goals section that we talked about there, this is where you want to go back after each problem that they've given you, after each obstacle, after each little issue. This is where you want to go back and ask, okay, cool, how's that affecting you on a like emotional level? All right. Again, we're wanting to elicit more emotion from them. Okay. Well, it affects me this way and this way and this way. Okay. And then you want to get into some maybe, a few, I don't want to drag this out too long, but like a few more like probing questions there. Okay. Like, what have they done to try and fix it themselves? Okay. Well, I haven't really tried to do it at all. Or, I took a plan off the internet. It just didn't work for me. Okay. Stuff like that. We want to just probe a little deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay. And from there, what that's going to allow you to do is, again, like, you're eliciting that emotion from them. I don't like to say it this way, but I can't really think of off the top of my head another way to say it. You want them to almost feel like a bit of a failure, right? You're eliciting that emotion from them. They're talking about how they feel to do it by themselves. Now they're kind of in the mindset like, I know I can't do it by myself. I need help. Okay. So that's kind of like your problem section there. You want to try and maybe get 3-4 problems, obstacles people things that are like, in the way for people of doing this by themselves, right? And again, you want to like probe deep into those kind of like pain points and really understand like how that's affecting them on an emotional level. Okay. Because if you don't do that, then what's going to happen is, they're kind of going through the motions with you. They're kind of, yeah, it's a problem, but like you're not making them feel like it's a problem. You're kind of just making them say stuff out loud, right? And again, at the end of that, you want to do the exact same thing you did with the goals, and you want to go through it all and make sure they understand everything, they're happy with everything. Go through and confirm everything, micro agreements, yes. And to be honest, at kind of that stage, like I would maybe do problems and then do the whole thing again, because we want to just keep it fresh in their mind, like, just really, really, really fresh in their mind of like, we've talked about the problems, but don't forget your goals as well, right? And by doing it that way, what you're doing is you're stretching out, okay? You're stretching out the difference between the problems and the goals. So in their head, they're thinking, right, okay, so I've got this goal and I've got this problem. And you're making it feel like those things are so far apart. Like I can't attain this by myself and I can't stop doing this by myself, right? And that's really your job there in breaking all of that stuff down. Now, this is where you maybe get into the likes of, a demonstration or diving a wee bit more into, how it is to work with you or whatever. I would start to do your pitch now. Okay, cool. Look, I think I've got all the details. Let me tell you a wee bit more about how we work, or let me take you for a test drive, or this, that, and the other, right? Okay. So again, we're still in case you haven't noticed, we haven't even talked about price yet. Okay. So we haven't given them the quote. We haven't done anything. This is where you want to do, if it's, you've got a test drive, you've got a presentation or your pitch. Okay. This is where you want to like bring your pitch in. Okay. Because we've done all the emotional stuff. Okay. We know that they're tuned in. We know that they, we've talked about their goals. We've talked about their problems. We've talked about all that type of stuff, right? This is where we want to get into the actual pitch. Okay. So this is how the program works. We're going to take you on a test drive here. See if you love the car, right? At the end of that is normally where most people go into a close, right? They come back. Well, what do you think of the car? Yeah, great. Cool. Let me get you a quote. And they hit them with the quote, right? This is where I get into two little sections here, right? Okay. The first is called the elephant in the room. And I got to give credit to the guy. I can't say I came up with this. I actually met a guy who was on a first class flight from New Jersey to Miami. I sat next to this guy, and he was a fucking cool dude. He was from England and moved to New Jersey probably about 20 years ago. And he'd worked in all these cool industries and stuff and he had a black Amex card. So, he's a fucking baller. But me and him just chatted the entire flight, like 4-hour flight, whatever it was, no headphones in, the two of us just having a drink, having a chat. And actually that's why, I always say to people, if you can afford to do it, you should always fly first or business class, because you just never know who you're going to get sat next to. So he actually, I took this technique from him, and I added it to our sales process, and I just love it. And it's called the elephant in the room. Now, this is more effective on a presentation, because what he was telling me about his presentation. You'd go to the next slide, and it would just be this big pink elephant, no text, no nothing, right? And he goes, now I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Okay. And the elephant in the room, they will always assume the elephant in the room is price, right? Because they're going to go, well, what's the elephant in the room? Oh, we haven't talked about price yet. It's got to be price, right? Okay, it's not price. Okay, that's what they're going to think it is, so it's not. And how the elephant in the room actually works, and why I injected it into my own method, was what you're now going to do is get them to list everything that they perceive to love about your product. Okay, so what you'll say is something like this. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, well, they're going to think price, right? And then they're going to say, what's the elephant in the room? And they might say, oh, price. And you're going to say, no, not price. Okay. Why do you think all of our clients buy our product and love our product? Okay. And there's no right answer to this. So will take a bit of practice and takes a bit of confidence delivering this, because there's no right answer. But they're going to then turn around and say something like, oh, well, you've the best results out of anyone, or oh, you build the nicest cars. Okay. No matter what they say, to say, no, not that one, but that is a good one. Okay. Let them list off 3 or 4 until you can see their brain really working. And then when they're struggling to get another answer, just go, yeah, that's it. Right? That's it. Okay. Or if you hear an answer that you absolutely love, just go, yeah, that's it. That's it. Cool. But what you've gotten them to do is list out everything that they love about you. So now they're talking about, oh, well, you've got the best results. Okay. So you can use that as ammunition later if you're struggling to close. Be like, but sure, we've got the best results. What do you got to think about? We've got the best results. Okay. We build the nicest cars. What are you going to buy a car that's not as nice as ours? Right. They're giving you ammunition to use against them. Okay. And I really love that. So I got to give a big shout out to that guy. And his name's left me, but yeah, what an absolute hero. So we injected that into our method as well. Absolutely love it. Now, one thing that is a wee bit more unique to us and something that I've kind of built out myself using various different techniques that I've learned over the years, whether it was selling cars, whether it was doing whatever, is we go into like a pre-close technique. And I'm not going to go through every single question that I've talked about it on different podcast episodes, so I don't want to bore anybody. You can go back and listen to the other podcast episodes that have it in it, where I talk about the pre-close technique. But the pre-close technique is quite simple. You've now completed your pitch. They've told you everything they love about it. Okay, so now it's when you want to like pre-close them. Okay, so this is where you're going to suck all objection handles out. Okay. A key part of the Trojan Horse Method is I've designed this in a way that there should be no objections at the end. There's no objection to handle at the end, okay? Other than price. If you follow it correctly, you follow my script correctly, you do everything that that I tell you to do, okay? The Trojan Horse Method should have no objections at the end other than price. Okay. And that's part of why we do this pre-close method. Okay. That's why we do the pre-qualifying at the start and we do the pre-close method. And the pre-close method, again, I'm not going to go through every single little question, but you're basically just saying, look, price to one side for a second, would you say that on a scale of 1 to 10, the program's perfect? If it's a 10, if it's 1, it's not perfect. Right. And we're getting a sense check of where they're at with things, right? They're either going to tell you, yeah, it's perfect for me. It's not. And then we're talking about, again, like price to one side for a second. If we can get the price right, you've said the program is perfect for you. If we can get the price right, are you happy enough to move forward today? Yeah. Okay. And then you want to double down on that as well and just reconfirm like, okay, cool. Just to be sure we sort out the price, you'll buy the car today. Cool. Great. No problem. Right. That's your pre-close method. Like I said, it would take me 10, 15 minutes just to actually run through it. So I don't want to drag this episode out until, make it an hour and 30-minute episode. So that's our pre-close, okay? So now, once you get into the actual price, okay, this is how they should be feeling. They should be feeling like you're an expert who's there to look after them. They've enjoyed hanging out with you for the hour to 2 hours, okay? You've had a laugh with them. They've enjoyed the time together, okay? They feel like what you're trying to sell them is perfect for them. They've told you that they love it, okay? Now, all you've got to do is build the price, okay? Now, what you'll want to do, okay, is offer your whatever if you sell a high ticket coaching program, okay, you want to offer your high ticket service, okay? You don't want to offer any discounts. You don't want to offer, in my opinion, you don't really want to offer even like an alternative close where it's like, oh, you can pay this or this, okay? You want to just go straight in with like whatever your paid in full offer is, okay? It costs $5,000, it costs $2,000, it costs $997, right? Whatever it is, right? You just want to go straight in with like, yeah, it costs this, straight face, okay? And let them talk, okay? They're going to say, well, do you know what, Stephen? As much as I've loved speaking to you today, that's completely out of my price range, okay? Or they might just say, yeah, cool, let's do it, right? You will get more of those, yeah, cool, let's do it, than you think, okay? A lot of people go into this like assumption that people can't afford things, right? If you pre-qualify them, you should already know it's in the ballpark of what they can afford, right? Okay, so it shouldn't be completely out of the ordinary, right? So you just want to go in with like the full price, like this is what it costs, okay? And that's it, right? So they should then come back and be like, yeah, I can't afford that, let's do it. No, I can't afford it, okay? So at that stage, then you just want to hit them back with, cool, that's no problem at all whatsoever. So if you can't afford $5,000, like, you know, what kind of cash on hand have you got right now? Like what could you afford to put down? And they say, well, I can't do 5, but I could probably do 2. Okay, well, what I can do is I can take 2 today and then I'll build a payment plan around that for you. Let me just get the calculator out and I'll work out what the monthly payments would be. Cool. So look, $2,000 today, and then you'll pay this per month for the next 6 months or whatever. How's that sound to you? Yeah, great, cool. Don't even ask how'd that sound for you. It's like, we get you set up with that today. Great. Okay. So depending on what you've got to work with, like how your sales manager allows you to sell, or if you're completely working for yourself, it's totally up to you how you calculate that, right? I give my sales guys like very specific kind of limitations that they can go to. Like, we don't discount, okay? So there's never an option to discount. It's like, right, look, you can fluctuate the upfront and the monthlies as much as you want, but like there's no money coming off unless they pay for the whole thing in full. But if this is your own business, your own coaching service or whatever, you really want to work with this person, you sell a program for $4,000 and they can only afford 3.5. Like, fuck me, like knock the 500 off and take it, right? If you want to, right? Because it's your business, you can do whatever you want, right? We don't believe in discounting because we feel like it devalues the service. So we don't discount, but we are happy to create custom payment plans for anybody that's looking to join us. Okay, we want to make it easy for people to buy. So custom payment plans really, really, really work well. Okay, but what you want to do is you always want to offer your paid in full upfront, because people will take it 9 times out of 10. Sorry, let me rephrase that. People won't necessarily take it 9 times out of 10. People will take it way more often than you think, and 9 times out of 10 they will pay a bigger upfront than maybe what you were willing to take, okay, by asking that question and doing it that way. Because what we used to do was we used to say, look, it's this in full, or you can pay this today and then a set monthly payment. And why we stopped doing that was, one, we never really got any paid in fulls because people said, oh, I'll just take the payment plan, right? And we also lost sales from people who didn't like that payment plan. They were like, oh, I don't have enough to do that. I don't have enough for the upfront, so I can't do it. Or I don't want to pay that much per month for an extended period of time or whatever, right? So what we have a lot now is somebody maybe say, well, I can't afford to pay the full thing up front, but I could give you half today and then have a lower monthly payment. Or I give you half today and half in 6 months. Or I give you half today and half next month. How's that sound, right? Doing custom deals like that is going to massively help. And again, going back to the very start of this podcast, if you've built a genuine connection with somebody, you know, you've made them laugh, they've enjoyed working with you, they now really want to buy from you, they're also going to go out of their way to see how they can make it work. Okay, whereas if you haven't done anything, like if you've just done like the whole boiler room thing to them, right, and they can't afford your thing up front, now they're like, fuck, this is my get out of free, I can't wait to get away from this guy. It's my get out of jail free card, right? If you've done the consultative selling where you haven't really used all of these different tactics to try and like get them to, you know, like feel like they're ready to buy, right? You've just consulted, you just give them the information, you're letting them go away and process. Like, again, this is a great out for them. They can be like, well, do you know what? I just need to go away and think about it and do my sums, right? And then it's hard, like you're just objection handling at that point and it's too difficult, right? So that is like a blueprint and a breakdown of my Trojan Horse method. I obviously haven't given you the full thing away. There's no script included there, but you know, you can go away, you can try and use those techniques, you can try and use that format to see how it works. But it's a unique method, in my opinion. It respects the time and intelligence of your prospective clients. It makes the sales process a much more enjoyable journey for both you and them. And I think that's really key. And that's part of the reason that I love sales, is because I make the journey not just enjoyable for them, but I also make it enjoyable for myself. Can you imagine like if you're just fucking being like a consultant all day, or you're being a boiler room guy all day, and you're just like, you're either not selling anything or you're selling, like, it's great to sell stuff, but wouldn't you rather like actually enjoy the process? And not only that, but that person now goes away. If you've got the option of working with them for a long time, or selling them something else in the future, they're also leaving like really respecting you, understanding your process, wanting to come back to you, right? And we've got great sales guys that are great at this method. And, you know, like they'll sell somebody maybe into like one of our lower ticket services because maybe they just can't afford the higher ticket at the time. And then because the relationship's been so good, they actually reach out to the sales guy to move up to the next tier. They don't even reach out to us who are like providing the service to them. Like they're reaching out to the sales guy and being like, hey, like I think I'm ready to move up to the next tier. Can I come back and talk to you about that? Right? That's a great sign of a great salesperson who's really had an impact on that person, because they feel like I can actually just go back to this guy to like buy more things from him because I want to, right? And that again, like going back to like the car sales and things like that, like if you're just new into car sales, right? The most money you're ever going to make is once you're in 2, 3, 4 years and your repeat customers are now coming back. So the guy that bought a finance plan off you and it lasts 3, 4 years, right? And he's coming back to you in his third year to upgrade his car, plus all your walk-ins, like that's when you start to make the real good money. Maybe not today and like that whole consultative shit where you get fuck all for selling a car and you're not allowed to push finance products and you're not allowed to push insurance products onto people and shit like that. But that traditionally was the way to make money. And that's the way that like our sales guys make more money too, is not just the inbound leads, but by like also managing relationships with people that they sold to in the past. And then those people coming back to buy higher ticket services off of them, as opposed to them coming to us who deliver the service and they buying from us, because then the sales guy gets nothing. So yeah, like that is the Trojan Horse method, the Trojan Horse sales system in a bit of a nutshell. Okay, it's obviously much deeper than that. There's obviously a lot more that we go into when we talk about, you know, even like tonality and how to build that rapport and things like that. Okay, but that is kind of like a quick blueprint and framework that you can take away, and you can even work on those things now. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed listening to me. And if there's anything I can answer in regards to this, feel free to leave a question in the comments section and I'll get back to you. Peace out. Have a great one.